Brains don't develop on their own. They develop within relationships. The more supportive and safe the relationship in our early life, even those relationships before birth, the better able we are to deal with the stresses of life as we age. The social brain is what helps us figure out other people. Parts of the social brain help us read other facial expressions, including happiness and anger, understand their intentions, learn how to make friends. These are all important skills and cannot be learned without positive relationships. Over time, positive relationships and safe attachments actually develop a brain that is better able to deal with the stresses of life. If those positive and safe relationships are not there, the social brain does not develop as it should, and that person is not able to deal with stresses later in life. They may not know how to make friends, how to ask for help, how to read another person's intentions. Good connections in early life help kids learn how to regulate their own emotions, how to form relationships, how to deal with conflict. Bad connections in early life lead to social isolation, risk-taking, physical and mental health problems. You might be asking, why is this important? It's important because the way we interact with those around us literally changes the way our brain functions. As a parent, you can determine the structure of your child's brain based on how you interact with them. How is this possible? That's what we're here to tell you. Let's focus on some of the most important parts of the social brain: the prefrontal cortex, or the PFC, the amygdala, and the hypothalamic pituitary adrenocortical axis, or the HPA axis. These three parts of the social brain work together to make a lot of decisions on how to work together during early brain development. The prefrontal cortex is a special system that helps sort through all sorts of information to help make the best decision for a person at ultra lightning speed. This system is like a giant computer that takes a look at everything happening outside of our body, people and things in the environment, our actions, and our behavior with others, and everything happening inside of our body, thoughts, emotions, memories, and even our attention. It even keeps track of changes happening all around us and helps us sort through how to respond to those changes and what we need to focus on at any given time. It then takes all of this information and checks in with other parts of the brain, the amygdala and the HPA axis, to get a true feel for how you're feeling about what is happening around you. And just like that, this special system makes a decision about what you should do in any given situation. Let's take a look at what information the prefrontal cortex gathers from other parts of the social brain. Your body has a great security system that prepares you to respond to danger, and it's located in your brain. The first point of this security system is the amygdala. Its job is to be on the lookout for danger. It can see or sense real danger. It can also imagine danger from a bad thought or dream, or from a bad memory. When the amygdala says, "Danger!" its job is to tell the rest of your brain what's going on. "Prepare for impact! We need to be ready to survive!" The amygdala tells the hypothalamus first. The hypothalamus is the really small, really old part of the brain. It's one of the oldest parts of your brain, and it's been helping out since cavemen had to run from dinosaurs. So when the hypothalamus gets a danger message from the amygdala, it relays the message to the pituitary to send another message using a special hormone called the adrenocorticopic hormone through the blood to the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland uses the adrenocorticopic hormone as a signal to use your brain's special fuel to fight danger. This special fuel is called cortisol. Your amygdala not only helps you with responding to danger, it also works with other parts of your brain to help you have friendships and feel comfortable and relaxed. It connects to all kinds of important parts of your brain, including the prefrontal cortex supercomputer and the parts that help you understand other people. If your amygdala grows up in a home that is mostly happy and people are nice to each other, it can have really good communication with those other parts of your brain, especially the supercomputer prefrontal cortex. When the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala grow to have a good solid connection, the prefrontal cortex is in charge of decisions and uses its supercomputer powers to help your brain think and grow. This helps you feel safe and calm and able to control yourself. In this type of environment, you will develop a positive stress response. A positive stress response means that you can manage your emotions really well, even when life is tough, and quickly reset to feeling good because the prefrontal cortex supercomputer is in control. If your amygdala grows up in a home or a neighborhood or a community that is dangerous, or people are fighting and mean to each other, it may not be able to listen to the prefrontal cortex or with other parts of your brain very well, because it may always be yelling, "Danger!" and getting you ready to fight or run away. When the amygdala is yelling at the rest of the brain to say, "Stay alive," the rest of the brain responds to these messages. This means that the amygdala is now in charge, and the prefrontal cortex quiets down and mostly focuses on the stressful messages being sent by the amygdala. When the supercomputer prefrontal cortex becomes distracted like this, you feel less in control of yourself. It's harder to remember things, and it's harder to make decisions, even about small things. The amygdala can also get really tired if it's always taking charge. And if it gets tired, it's not able to talk with other parts of the brain. This makes you feel really stressed, confused, and out of control. In this environment, your brain will develop toxic stress response, which means your amygdala doesn't learn to communicate with other parts of your brain. Its messages never make it to where they're supposed to go because your brain is always concerned with surviving. This means your supercomputer prefrontal cortex isn't able to take control when you are feeling stressed or when you are faced with something challenging. You've been hearing a lot about stress, but what does that really mean? How much stress is enough to impact the structure of the brain? The National Scientific Council on the Developing Child has proposed 3 different classifications of stress: positive stress, tolerable stress, and toxic stress. Positive stress is a stressful event that is brief, like getting a shot at the doctor's office or being nervous about your first day of school. While you might be worried or really upset, it usually passes within a few minutes or hours, especially once you get a hug from one of your parents. By the next day, you don't even think about it. Tolerable stress is when something shocking happens. This can be a death in the family or a natural disaster. While it is initially shocking, with time and family support, you can return to normal. Toxic stress is continuous exposure to stressful environments without having the support you need to help you through those difficult times. This can cause problems with learning, increased fear, and anxiety. This is the stress that causes changes in the brain and can impact people even when they're an adult. A lot of adults who grew up in stressful environments without support end up adopting unhealthy coping skills like smoking, drinking, and sometimes drugs. How do the people in our environment determine how our brain will develop? In a supportive environment, one with normal amounts of stress, an environment where you have people in your life that you know love you and will keep you safe, even when things are hard. Your body makes lots of little receptors, glucocorticoid receptors. Wow, that's a really big word. Let's just call them GCs. GCs live in the prefrontal cortex, the amygdala, and the hypothalamus. GCs are like tiny superheroes in your body. They are designed to help your body get through stress. Remember when we talked about cortisol being your body's special fuel to help you fight danger? Well, GCs make sure that cortisol fuels your fight, but then they tell cortisol to calm down and take a break. GCs do this to help your body calm down after stress. Calming down helps the prefrontal cortex stay in charge as the supercomputer and gives the amygdala and the HPA axis a rest. The more GCs you have, the better you can respond to stress because they catch stress hormones. In a toxic environment, your body can't make enough of these catchers. And if they aren't around to catch the stress hormones, those hormones all go into your body and your brain. Knowing what is going on inside our brain and body when we deal with stress helps us to understand why it is so important to help children deal with stress in a positive way, especially when they are growing and rely on adults to take care of them. Because kids' brains are so brand new, they count a lot on adults around them to teach them about how the world works, how people work, and how to manage stress. The brain will learn how to feel safe, how to manage stress, and how to grow. This is when the prefrontal cortex is in charge. Or the brain will learn that people are not safe, stress will be unpredictable and scary, and the brain will stop being concerned about growing and will be more concerned about surviving. This is when the amygdala takes too much charge. The child's brain will actually learn to set up its communication system based on what the child experiences. What this means for child development is that in a positive stress environment, the child's brain learns to be calm, cool, and collected. It learns that parents will love and support the child no matter what. It even learns that when things get hard, it has the tools it needs to handle stress and refocus on life. When the child grows up in this way, opportunities are endless because the brain's communication is working in a smart way. In toxic stress environments, the child's brain learns to stay in survival mode, always on high alert, ready to fight or run from stress. The brain learns that the parent's love changes with circumstances and that the things are not always safe. The brain grows with the idea of people in the world are unpredictable and dangerous. What this means for you parents is that kids need safety and security to help their brains develop to their full capacity. Parents and caregivers can provide that security. Parents who are safe and secure provide love and attention and reassurance to their children. They respond to their children and interact with them in a way that says, "You are important to me. I am here to help you. And I love you no matter what." How do you do this? Some ideas might be cooking and eating dinner together, playing games together, hugging, holding hands, snuggling, and reading bedtime stories. Listen to your children when they speak to you. Hold them when they cry. Talk with them about their challenges. There are hundreds of ways to show kids that you love them. And when you show them that they are important, that you are there to help, that you love them no matter what's going on, their brains decide to grow in a way that will remind them of your love for their whole lives. This is an important job, and it may sound like a big job. You might even be wondering how to show your kids this type of love if you yourself are struggling emotionally. Maybe you have some anxiety or depression, or maybe you don't always manage your stress well. It's okay to get help. Actually, it's best to get help as soon as possible. Your children will learn from you. Your children can pick up on your stress. Ultimately, the better you are, the better they will be.